Sterling K. Brown, welcome to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
Thank you for having me, Trevor. Honored to be here.
You say it's an honor, but I've been trying to get you on the show for years, and you haven't found the time or the means to make it to the show. And then now when I can't be in the same space as you, now you come on the show. Because you know I wanted to take a selfie with you so I could show all my people back home that I know you, and now I gotta be like, oh yeah, I sort of know him.
Well, we did that selfie. We did that selfie at a pre-Emmy event one time, and you told me you hold the camera as if you're taking the selfie of yourself, and then it can hit rotation, and picture got picked up.
You're a very busy man, not just working, but also being nominated for the work that you do. So let me start by congratulating you. Congratulations on 2 Emmy nominations.
Thank you.
One for This Is Us, one for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. If I am correct in this stat, I believe that you are the first actor to be nominated in both of those major categories in the same year, drama and comedy. That's range. That's what that is.
So maybe Ed Asner before me was nominated for the Mary Tyler Moore Show and for Roots, but at the time Roots was considered just a drama and not a limited series. So Roots second, and I'm good with that.
I know you are the father of 2 young kids, and you've been in the house during coronavirus. Did they give you any recognition for your nominations, or were they just looking for like, what is daddy gonna do today, cook today, make today, teach us today? Like, do they even care?
My youngest has no clue. It's not important to him at all whatsoever. He's almost 5. My oldest knows exactly what's going on. And so I told him that I got nominated. He's like, you got nominated again? It's like, good for you. That's awesome. He's like, how many do you have now? And he's like, oh yeah, and then he'll mock me openly to my face. Yeah, I'm Sterling Brown. I got Emmys, I have Golden Globes, and I have NAACP awards. I'm so cool. Whatever, bro. And then he goes and beats my ass in Madden. That's how he reckons with me.
I feel like you are missing out on an opportunity as a father if you don't wait for him to graduate a grade, and then he comes and tells you, he's like, Dad, I passed, I got an A, and then you go like, oh, look at me, I got an A.
I can't wait. Turnabout is fair play. Turnabout is fair play.
You're one of the people who gets welcomed into millions and millions of people's households, you know, every single week. People know you and they love you. And so anything you do will get a spotlight, you know, shone upon it. Everyone's going to shine that spotlight where they go, Sterling K. Brown is doing something. You're part of a project right now called 1 Million Truths, which is a really, really interesting project. And I wanted you to share it with the audience. What is 1 Million Truths all about?
I appreciate it, man. It's basically a platform, an initiative for Black folks in America to share their experiences with racism. And I think it's a centralized way for Black folks to see other people's stories and for allies who are interested to see that the experiences that their friends have told them about are not a one-off, that it's not just something that happened like in an isolated sort of incident, that these isolated incidents are happening over and over again all over the country. And maybe by having one place where people can go and see like, oh, life for Black people in this country is not the same as it is for me, right? And then there's a development of empathy and hopefully a wave of support that we can ride right now to make some real change to systemic racism in this country.
One thing I've always enjoyed about the show This Is Us is it's an interesting look at how much people can love each other and know each other, but still not know fully about each other. You know, and you play a character where you're part of a family where even though you share so many things, there's still something that separates you, and that is the color of your skin. And I wonder if like, is there certain storytelling that you try and get across in the show that helps people empathize with somebody who has a different skin color without making them feel like they're being blamed, you know, as opposed to the system being highlighted?
I would hope so. I think Randall Pearson, just like his brother and sister and mother and father, is a human being first and foremost, right? And I think so much of the power of media is that people learn through exposure, whether it's through travel, whether it's through books, whether it's through the representation that they see on screen. And our show, the demographic of our show is vast, but it's about 80% white, right? And so there's opportunities that I have to make conversations with people who may not have those conversations with someone that looks like me. And by virtue of them seeing me in their home 18 times a week, they can say like, this dude, Randall, he's just like me. He loves his kids, he loves his wife, like I understand part of his struggle, even if I don't understand the totality of it. So hopefully the next time they see me or anybody who looks like me, they can lean in rather than step away.
I'd love to know about your personal story a little bit, because I learned that you discovered that I think your fifth great paternal grandparents were from Africa, right?
Yeah, yeah, man.
It's always interesting when people discover like where their family came from, especially when you live in America and the records aren't there for you to easily peruse.
Right.
Does that change anything in your world and in your mind when you start to track how and where your family came to the United States? Does it change a little bit of the story you tell yourself of you or your family or even the country you're in?
There is this really sort of profound experience that you have as a young Black man in a predominantly white institution of learning. I went to St. Louis Country Day in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'll be one raisin or one of a few raisins in the sun, vast white experience. And every time February comes around and you're talking about Black History Month and you talk about the institution of slavery, everybody looks at you and they're like, well, we're past that. Like, why are we still talking about this? This is ancient history, as if this country is old enough to have ancient history, right? And so you feel this sort of defensiveness to be like, how do you show that like the repercussions of what transpired in the past are still reverberating in the present? And then you see documentation of your ancestors listed as property, listed as, there was a bank. The guy wanted to, excuse me, I'm being very ineloquent in this particular moment. The slave owner who owned my quadruple great grandparents listed them as collateral because he wanted to extend his plantation and he needed them to list them
Wow.
for the bank loan. And so you see them listed as property and you recognize that like, it's not that long ago. You recognize that while other people could list your family as property so that they could expand their wealth, their reach, we had nothing. It's a completely different starting point. And it sort of just validated for me this level of defensiveness that I've always had to prove something. I don't have to prove, like, I can see it. And that so little Black folks across the world have documentation of the oppression that has transpired to them as individuals and as a people. It really just, I don't know, it made it real. I knew it was real before, but I saw it. I had the ocular proof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder, is this one of the reasons, well, not this particular story, but the history of America, your history in America, and the story that America tells, is this one of the reasons that you named your production company the way you did? Is it why you chose to focus on certain stories and how to tell them using the platform of Hollywood?
So it's interesting. The name of my production company is Indian Meadows, and it's named after the neighborhood that I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. And it's a predominantly African-American neighborhood that went through, it was Jewish, and then Black folks moved in, and the Jews didn't leave, but their kids grew up and went elsewhere. So I had old Mrs. Weebelman living next door to me, who was my substitute teacher at Spady School, and she was just playing with all these little Black kids who loved her as much as anybody, right? And so just a testimony of where I come from and who I wish to represent. Because as evidenced by the fact that we get to celebrate Kamala Harris being the vice presidential nominee along with Joe Biden, I'm very excited. My wife, by the way, I should say, is almost as excited as I am. But if you're familiar with Greek organizations in the United States, my wife is a Delta and Kamala Harris is an AK. So there's a little bit of shade, but it's still a reason to celebrate, right? Seeing yourself on screen validates your life. And so I want to tell stories where people of color or marginalized groups are front and center. They're not necessarily the sidekick or the goofy friend or whatnot, but the story is about them. Because when you see yourself, you know that your story is as important as anybody else's.
Well, I'll tell you this, if somebody's watching the Emmys this year, they will see you twice nominated and hopefully twice winning. Sterling K. Brown, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks a lot, Trevor. I appreciate you, brother.